arm on coming. Look at my arm. Look at my arm, man. You're gonna get arrested for disorderly conduct. Then you understand that, right? Just bring your shit. You did that. You pushed me up against the car. You pushed me up against the car with handcuffs. And your body camera saw my chest and saw you.
Body cameras.
Where's your sergeant? You said the sergeant was here. Yeah.
Body cameras.
Lay my car out on the ground right now.
Good morning, everybody. Let's see what's going on in Kerr County, Texas. It's wet down there.
Hi, I'm Nicole Hockley from Sandy Hook Promise. I know this is hard to hear, but it's important. The shooter who murdered my son carried an AR-15 into an elementary school and killed 26 people in approximately 4 minutes. In those 4 minutes, he was able to shoot 154 rounds. 5 of those bullets hit my 6-year-old son, Dylan, and in an instant, my boy was gone. Right now, Congress is considering legislation to make purchasing assault weapons illegal. This is important and will save a lot of lives. It could have saved the life of my son. So please, sign the petition and demand Congress take action against assault weapons. Help us save lives today. Thank you.
Sorry about that. I was getting a glass of tea. Stupid Google. Doesn't look all that exciting right now.
have a ton of resources here. I could make a phone call and get a ton more here. We have all the resources, all the equipment, all the manpower, all the food we need. Okay, please help me pass that message on. We do have it under control.
Today I learned that another helping hand has joined the fray. HEB is setting up a mobile kitchen in Ingram. And when that kitchen is set up, it will be able to feed a lot of hungry people in the Hunt and Ingram area.
What's up, Toga, my man? What's up?
That, just go to heb.com, I think,
Just chilling out here in the sweltering heat.
Countless other local businesses are stepping up.
Loving life, brother. Loving life.
Needs, and they are meeting them. Now, how can you help? If you would like to make a financial donation, we recommend that you go to the Community Foundation of the Texas Hill Country. They have set up a portal to receive donations. That would be communityfoundation.net. People across our community, across our state, across the world have been responding to that request. If you would like to volunteer, the city has set up a partnership with our local Kerrville Salvation Army at the Kroc Center. The number to call to register to help or to donate is 830-465-4797. And when I say donate, in-kind donations.
So these search and rescue teams are, of course, now nearing the end of their third day.
That's right there where my wife's family's from, in that
questions
area
are
of
being raised
Texas.
about preparedness and whether alerts were issued in a timely manner. Here's a little bit more from Governor Greg Abbott earlier today.
The city manager for Kerrville explained that on the morning of the 4th, he was out jogging at about 3:30 in the morning, and it just then began to rain a little bit. He got home and saw that it rained a little bit more, and he saw after that the torrent of water that was coming down the river. And the point that he made was that by the moment in time when they knew the magnitude of the water, it's a difficult decision whether or not to begin evacuating people or not, because if you have a warning telling everybody to evacuate, you could actually lead them to their death. We know that some deaths in Kerrville were people who died, who got swept away, who were trying to evacuate. And so local officials know the best about the terrain, about the danger spots and things like that, about who might be able to evacuate.
Hey, Toga, you hear Robin broke his arm?
Getting into a more dangerous situation.
With focus on families here, we know that there was a National Weather Service alert issued on Thursday afternoon talking about these flood watches and issuing Cook County as a high-risk area overnight. Why not preemptively evacuate these campuses earlier? That was a good question. Did you get some of these answers?
Yeah, no, again, it is still a great question. And when you looked at the National Weather Service notification, when you look at that map showed Kerr County kind of in the northeast corner, and that spread all the way through San Angelo. So there's a lot of information. That's a wide area that must be addressed. And so as we were, preparing for it, unfortunately, the rain hit at the most inopportune time, and right in the most inopportune areas where the North and South Fork hit. It converged, and so here we are. So again, we want to continue to focus on those rescue operations, and at that, we're not taking any more questions. Thank you.
And Pamela, I have noticed over the last couple of days, I'm sure you have as well, oftentimes at these press conferences, they are offering important information, but the questions are shut down pretty quickly. Still a lot of questions.
He sounded like he was in pretty bad shape, man.
In the area. I'll hand it back to you.
He sounded like he was hurting pretty bad.
Yeah. And we're going to continue to press for answers. We will not stop asking those questions. The community deserves to know.
The Canadian healthcare probably wasn't much good for him either.
And I want to bring in someone who might be able to help us answer some of the questions we have in our minds, and that is Jeff Cornish, a meteorologist with AccuWeather. He joins us now. Jeff, we've been speaking to other experts who say that this area was known as Flash Flood Alley. But are you surprised by how quickly those waters rose overnight?
Pam, the numbers are staggering that we saw a 30-foot rise of part of the Guadalupe River in 1 hour's time. Those are big numbers, and that is a dramatic rise, and it came at the absolute worst time in the middle of the night, the early morning hours. We're in the business at AccuWeather and across the entire weather enterprise of trying to put ourselves and everybody in the position that we're not surprised by the weather as best as we can humanly be possible. We're better postured for that now than ever before in human history. with the latest technology, computer modeling improvements, and so forth. But still, there are incredible things that the atmosphere will continue to do.
There's a lot of water,
there
y'all.
are things that are
There's a
sometimes
lot of water.
surprising, but actually, the timing of this happened at a time when awareness was tricky. It did get out in time. A flash flood warning was issued by the National Weather Service 3 to 4 hours before the massive water rise. And our SkyGuard product at AccuWeather, we have clients that pay us to give them specific business or preparedness type alerts. In some cases, summer camps, and there are SkyGuard alert that went out from our team 30 minutes even before the National Weather Service. But that's a difficult time, and people have to make some very unpopular decisions. A camp of 750 people, to wake them up in the middle of the night and say, we got to evacuate. I realize that warning fatigue is a thing. You may have 499 flash flood warnings over several decades where things don't produce this outcome. But again, somebody needs to stay up to monitor this kind of thing in the middle of the night and make that call. This is a very challenging thing. And Pam, my wife and I just picked our kids up from a week-long summer camp in Pennsylvania on Friday night. And this is a call to action for anybody responsible for the well-being of people at RV parks, or if you have kids in your care. This is tough. This is very, very challenging. But again, no matter if you're in Connecticut or in Southern California or anywhere in between, people need to do what needs to happen to take action before it's too late.
It is a call to action. I know so many parents feel that way who have young campers who are sending their kids off to camp. My kids are too young, but I hope to one day. And I've heard officials say there was nothing more that could have been done. This happened so quickly. What do you think about that? Do you think that that is true, given how quickly it happened?
I'm sure there will be an investigation, and I don't want to speculate, Pam, because I know that there are stories that some people involved with the camp leadership did some very heroic things.
Yeah, we've seen the San Marcos
I don't know what it looked like
Caldwell County in Lockhart.
4 a.m.
It'll swell up and take up. They have tree branches that are 30 feet in the
if
tree.
anybody
They're
else is
off
in this
of about a
situation
30-minute flood. So yeah, it
you can't
happens
just
quick,
see that
real
wireless
quick.
emergency alert say, oh, another flash flood warning, and go back to sleep and hope for the best. I looked at, I've been to the hill country before once. It's a beautiful place, but the arid ground there and the nature of the terrain, it leads to disastrous flash flooding. We do call that area counterintuitively part of I-35 and points west and east by 3 or 4 counties, Flash Flood Alley in Texas. And it's because we've had flash flood event after flash flood event. Just a few weeks ago, over a dozen people lost their lives in San Antonio with the slightly more common vehicle-related flash flood fatalities in most of those cases. It's a dangerous place, and that dry, arid soil leads to rapid water rise. And you head west of I-35 into the hill country there, west of San Antonio, and the nature of the terrain channels that water, similar to what we saw in Kentucky a couple of years ago, in eastern Kentucky, and even last year.
Yeah.
But it's even more dramatic when you have dry, arid soil there.
Yeah, I went back and visited. I'm from Kentucky.
So many
And it
lives
was,
lost, so many
horrific.
people
And I
hurt.
heard many of the same stories when I went there after the flooding, that it happened so quickly and the water was just rising, and people couldn't escape fast enough. And this, of course, this happened overnight. And I'm just trying to better understand how it works from a meteorologist standpoint, because Texas officials, and of course, there's a lot of finger pointing. And right now, we just want to rescue those who might still be out there. But also, we want to learn from this. They talk about the alerts, and that the initial alert before was that there would be 5 to 7 inches of rainfall, and it ended up being 13 inches. Is there a way, and that the technology available now, to predict that it could be that much rain and the river could rise that fast, that the storm could stall over the river and cause that kind of flooding? I mean, are those technological capabilities there?
We can look at the trends. We can look at things like the flow aloft and the terrain. But
Yeah,
even
it's
as
real bad,
technology
man.
continues to
It's real
improve,
bad.
short-term
It's real bad.
modeling. We have a model called the Kerr, the High Resolution Rapid Refresh. AccuWeather app users have access to our MinuteCast product that has the next 4 hours of a hyperlocal precipitation forecast. They're better than ever before, But, there's always going to be some question as to precisely how a convective small-scale thunderstorm event, the size of a county or smaller for the absolute worst of this, how that's going to behave 4 or 5 hours down the road or 2 or 3 hours down the road. I think it's critically important that people stay connected. And one of the best things that the Weather Enterprise and the National Weather Service has rolled this out, has done in recent years is issue the more escalated types of warnings. Historically, the top of the food chain for tornado warnings was a tornado warning. Now there's a tornado emergency. And the top chain for flash flood alerts used to be a flash flood warning. Now there is a flash flood emergency. And they're seldom issued, and intentionally so, because
the Guadalupe's always run muddy, but boy, I bet it's running muddy right now.
Area, whether it be an RV camp or a summer camp or thousands of people or hundreds of people in harm's way, and a bona fide, confirmed, legitimate, once in a decade type event is happening for any given spot, those flash flood emergencies need to be taken seriously. All I know is if I am somebody responsible for the well-being of others, for me, I got a family of 4, but if you have many people in your care along a creek and you get a flash flood warning, I don't know what happened. And
in other news, Florida residents are going to be happy to hear this. It just came out. There's a new website where any Florida resident, as long as you live within a zip code.
Passion for people who are dealing with this here. But it's not the time to go back to sleep. And that may not have been what happened, but early action is so critical. Yeah. And sometimes those decisions are really unpopular. Asking people to get up in the middle of the night.
Google ads, man.
And there are so many false alarms, but this is not a false alarm.
What I was told from one of the parents was the storm was so loud and raging that the campers actually woke them up. I mean, they were awake because it was so loud, and it just, they saw the water just rapidly rising, and they were waiting for the owner of the camp to pick them up in a car. And then they realized, well, the water is rising too fast. We got to take action on our own. Yeah. And counselors saved some of those kids, but other kids didn't make it, which is awful. And you have to wonder, moving forward, what more could be done? I mean, what I hear from you is there is no way to have certainty as it stands now with the technology available to meteorologists, to have that kind of certainty of, oh, wow, the river could rise 24 feet. The rainfall is going to be,
here's what you have to understand.
I mean, there is no way to precisely
a lot of these people that are parked in RV parks, they live in these things called park models, which is basically a small pull behind RV, but it doesn't leave. It stays there.
Yeah. Well, we may
a lot of the RVs that are parked there are fifth wheels, where guys are working in Colorado right now. They just come home on the weekends and go to their little fifth wheel, and that's where they live.
At midnight.
We got stopped. We got woke up one night in a little town called Fentress, right outside of Lockhart, which is in Caldwell County, and they said, "Look, man, you better start that motorhome and drive it as far away from here up that hill as you can, because it's about to flood." And I'm telling you, it will come at you quick. It will come at you so fast on these Texas rivers. And this was on the San Marcos, not even the Guadalupe. I mean, this was serious shit going on here, everybody.
And I was playing with Google Earth and looking at for example, the camp. It looks like an amazing place with the water right there, and at times it's a dry wash. But Camp Mystic, yeah. But there's no buffer there. The buildings are built basically right along the creek's edge, and the issue of trying to evacuate by vehicle, not always an option. The road's going to follow the easiest place to build a road, and that's going to be along the creek. So if they're people need to have a better means of egress, and that might mean easily accessible, ADA accessible trails to get scale up the hillsides, even if it's not, a vehicle accessible route.
Donate blood,
a way
Texas.
to get people up, even if you're just getting up 50 or 60 yards, that's going to get you out of the floodplain.
Donate blood.
So it's critically important to look at the updates to the warnings 1 to 2 hours into an event. Yeah.
Right. And whether, there's a question of, like you said, there's alert fatigue in certain areas, potentially, and what needs to be done to combat that fatigue. Of course, this had the added layer of the overnight. And actually on the screen, we just showed the alert that we received today. That was pretty straightforward to evacuate because of the concern of flash flooding. But, there it is on the screen there. It's saying this is a dangerous and life-threatening situation. But, there's still a question, especially at that camp, whether that even came through, because we don't know. There's bad reception there, and we don't know if the counselors got that. I mean, there's a lot of still outstanding questions, but thank you for helping us fill in some of the gaps here, Jeff. We do appreciate it. And we'll be right back.
Well, you're welcome. And I think this also highlights just the connection between local emergency management and they're responsible for the well-being of other people too. Thank you, Pam.
Absolutely. And we're digging into all of that. Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks for joining us this hour as we continue our special breaking news.
Hey, Tolga, if you're still listening, tell me if you can hear me, man. For some reason, I was showing my microphone the thumbs up. Keep in mind, this is CNN. They will lie to get ratings. They will wade in water chest deep that's only 6 inches deep to get ratings. Keep that in mind when you're watching this shit, by the way. I think that's worldwide, man. And it's not just CNN, it's all of them. They all got to get those ratings, no matter if it's true or not. Of course she was. Yep. And the ones that I saw weren't little girls. They were probably 16 to 18. So I don't, maybe I'm missing something. But you know what? Kids sell news. I mean, people that watch it, they find out kids are hurt. Kids and puppies, that's how they sell the soap and the pharmaceutical meds that keep the station on the air. It's got a G in it. It's Guadalupe, not Guadalupe. That big Texas boy eats a lot of barbecue, I bet. What? There we go. That's the one I was looking for. Yeah, they are young. That's the same. Mm, that's why people hate you, YouTube. Pay attention. Oh, no, no, no. That's so sad. Oh, dear, dear God. Pray, pray, pray for those people. I've lost a kid, and let me tell you something. It's heartbreaking. It hurts. There's no describing it. Oh my God, these poor people. God, that's heartbreaking, man. Oh, it's heartbreaking, man. It's funny they didn't mention Caldwell. Texas does take care of Texas. We did that when we paid our taxes. Never trust a meteorologist. To them, this is like the Super Bowl. I believe I got a Texas Strong shirt. Fire his ass. Fire his ass. It's a false alarm because weathermen don't know when to stop thinking that it's a sport. They do it with elections. They do it with every storm. It's the worst of the century. You'll never win again, no matter what. It's got to be the worst. So when people don't believe what they say, they go, "Oh, it's your fault." Well, no, it's the news' fault. It's the news'. Can you hear us now, man?
But there's still a question, especially at that camp, whether that even came through, because
Can you hear us now,
we
man?
don't know. There's bad reception there, and we don't know if the counselors got that. I mean, there's a lot of still outstanding questions, but thank you for helping us fill in some of the gaps here, Jeff. We do appreciate it, and we'll be right back.
Well, you're welcome. And I think this also highlights just the connection between local emergency management and they're responsible for the well-being of other people too.
Cool, thanks.
Thank you,
man.
Pam.
Absolutely, and we're digging into all of that. Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks for joining us this hour as we continue our special breaking news coverage of the catastrophic flooding in Texas. I'm Erica Hill in New York, alongside Pamela Brown in Kerr County, Texas. At this hour, we can confirm officials now say at least 80 people are dead. 41 remain missing across central Texas. In Kerr County, the area that saw the worst of that flash flooding, officials say 68 people lost their lives, including 28 children. Hundreds of emergency responders and volunteers are working around the clock now, searching for survivors. As you can see there, a number of the efforts, you can also see the debris, and it just gives you a sense of how difficult this task is. They are in trees, under bridges, along the riverbanks, and of course, survivors have thankfully been airlifted to safety in some instances.
Well, I got
the
a note
damage
that
is
said,
vast. It is
your sound was
catastrophic,
lost,
as we
but
said,
I thought
and
that
of
was
course,
just
there
on
is still
my
hope
end. I thought
that
it was
those
just my
41
microphone.
missing people will be found. Pamela Brown is, of course, on the ground there in Kerr County, and you were able to make your way around to different parts, including to Camp Mystic, Pam.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, this is a community that
All right, that's CNBC. They're setting up the microphones to go live. Let's find out what they're talking about. Then, yeah, man, I don't know how this StreamYard thing works. I don't know. I'm a travel guy. What the hell do I know? But I do have my Texas shirt on. The other one was a Texas shirt, too. You just couldn't tell it. Literally a Texas shirt. Called Louise, Texas. It would be helpful if they put a couple of those microphones facing the people that are asking the damn questions. So maybe we could hear someone asking the damn questions.
Whole gang's here.
This live streaming gets to where it's almost like a job. If you're anywhere near this part of Texas, donate some blood, folks. Donate blood today. That's where your volunteer can go until it's safe to actually get out there and help these guys clean everything up. But donate blood today.
Yeah, 1 second. We'll do a quick mic check, Adam. Are you seeing levels though? Okay. Hey. Let's sit off that. Good? Cool.
None of it makes sense because no one's going to be able to hear any of the questions that anyone's asking. But there's 50 microphones up there to hear what one person has to say, but nobody can hear what the reporters ask. Man, it's hot. I got to turn on my fan, so there's going to be a lot of background noise. So I'm going to mute this for a minute. That thing that sounds like an airboat's my fan. I have a big fan. Sorry. Not sorry.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Oh, relax, relax, relax. I've just got some housekeeping notes that I want to pass out to everyone. So please get to where you can hear me. I will project my voice. Hopefully we will start at 10 or very close to that. However, that's not a promise. My name is Jonathan Lamb. I'm the PIO for City of Kerrville. A few things I would like y'all to be aware of. One, a very important note, the temporary flight restriction is still in effect. Flying drones will and have been interfering with our response and recovery. We're asking everyone to adhere to this directive. You are not allowed to fly drones anywhere over the river corridor, anywhere in Kerr County.
Because they don't want to get caught
with rescue operations. Next, media hour. It's our intent to set aside an hour each day to make some of our leadership available for one-on-one interviews with y'all. This is above and beyond these daily press conferences that we're doing here. These interviews will be 3 to 5 minutes in length, and we're going to hold those between 1 and 2 p.m. Obviously, we won't be able to accommodate every outlet. If you're an affiliate, we ask that you coordinate among your colleagues from your network. You can request interviews by emailing our Joint Information Center at jic@kerrvilletx.gov. That's jic@kerrvilletx.gov. And I'll repeat that again in just a minute. Our unified PIO team will confirm your interview, your time, and who you're going to be able to interview at least an hour in advance. You're welcome to request specific leadership, such as the sheriff or the city manager. However, due to the fluid nature of response and the quantity of requests that we're likely to get, we cannot commit to honoring 100% your requested interviewees. Footage. Our joint PIO team will be in the field today, and we're going to be collecting images and B-roll of response and recovery efforts. As soon as it can be made available, a link will be emailed from our JIC email address for you to download material for your own use. Contact information. If you signed in yesterday and provided us with your contact information, you should be part of our media list and should have received a confirmation email last night. If you did not get on that list and you want to be part of our media list, please email jic@kerrvilletx.gov. That is JIC@KERRVILLETX.gov.
Yeah, journalists.
I'm going to try and find out
Intent
about
covering
when
up.
we're expected to start. Hopefully it'll be shortly. Thank you.
Everything that comes out of their mouth is a lie. Everything. Hey, hope your arm feels better, Robin. Sorry you broke it. Tolga's in and out in another room back and forth, Robin. Well, I bet he doesn't fill himself with his broken arm. You'll be okay. You'll be okay. It was only a few hours. That doesn't even make a whole lot of sense, to tell you the truth.
Y'all ready? Okay, this will be our July 7th, 10 a.m. Briefing. Search and rescue operations are ongoing throughout Kerr County. We're using assets from local, state, and national first responders. Hundreds of trained first responders are working every aspect of this emergency. As of 8:30 this morning, we recovered 75 deceased bodies here in Kerr County, including 48 adults and 27 children. Of this 48 adults and 27 children, 15 adults and 9 children are pending identification. At present, there are 10 campers from Camp Mystic unaccounted for and 1 counselor. We continue to offer our condolences to those affected. Reuniting the families remain our top priority here on this operation. Please note that Highway 39 of an Old Ingram Loop remains closed to the public. Other than those who live in that area would not be allowed out there. I will now turn it over to Senator Cruz. City Manager Dalton Rice.
Good morning, Dalton Rice, the city manager for the city of Kerrville. As everybody knows, we are working in conjunction with the city under a unified command response. And again, a lot of devastation. Our hearts go out to the families and the victims. We want to continue to work together as a community. We love the media support on this to be able to communicate that message, communicate family, communicate togetherness. And we really appreciate all the support and helping us be able to do that. Search and rescue, as the sheriff said, search and rescue operations will continue today from Hunt in North Kerr County all the way to Canyon Lake in Comal County. Now, we're only focused on the Kerr County side, but we wanted to talk about that because for a linear from Hunt all the way to Comal County in a straight line distance is over 100 kilometers. This is a massive field that is happening. And again, this is unprecedented flood events. So we are still currently in the primary search phase, which is the rapid one. They are running it, we have different segments that are gridded out. Each one of those segments are taking anywhere between an hour to 3 hours, up to 2 kilometers for each segment. So what that means is they're running into a lot of technical challenges with terrain, with water, even potentially, with weather, in the rising fields. We've talked about this before. Volunteers stay out of the way because if we start getting weather reports and all the other complications that are out there, we then have to pull off of those search and rescue missions to be able to communicate to those volunteers to get off, to make sure that they don't become victims themselves. Those operations involve 19 different local and state agencies. In addition to conducting primary and secondary searches, they will be conducting welfare checks on areas in North Kerr County impacted by power outages. And when we say search and rescue operations, that is boat, walking, on the ground, dogs, drones. Again, keep personal drones out of the air. Helicopters. We do have other assets that are continuing the search as well. As of present, KPUB, which is the Kerrville Public Utility Board, is reporting continued power outages between Hunt and Ingram along the South Fork of the Guadalupe River in Hunt. In the South Fork area, there are approximately 40 down power lines and significant infrastructure damage. KPUB has brought in additional utility personnel to help with restoration, but it's not possible at this time when the power is going to be restored. There are some substations along with those power lines that we are still trying to get access to just from debris buildup or them being completely wiped out. So we do not have an estimated time on when those are going to be fixed. We continue to have substantial number of requests for volunteers, as I said before, and donation opportunities. We are asking those who want to volunteer to contact the Salvation Army in Kerrville by phone at 830-465-4797 or in person at 855 Hayes Street in Kerrville. Monetary donations can be made on the Community Foundation of the Texas Hill Country's website at www.communityfoundation.net. They have a Kerr County Relief Fund set up on that site. And I will now turn it over to the Mayor, Joe Herring.
Thank you for being here. I need to tell my community and those families who are waiting, this will be a rough week. Primary search continues, and we remain hopeful every foot, every mile, every bend of the river. Our work continues. You need to know that we have been blessed with help from the community, from the state, and the nation. We have trained experts who are helping in this effort. If you want to volunteer, it is important that you contact Kerrville Salvation Army and register. Dalton gave that number, but I'm going to give it again. 830-465-4797. We need focused and coordinated volunteers, not random people just showing up and doing what they do. We need to work together. As Dalton said, donations have been flowing in from around the world to the Community Foundation. Again, that website is communityfoundation.net. Please follow the City of Kerrville's Facebook page for updates. They're accurate. We take a lot of time to make sure we send out information that will be helpful, not only to residents, but those who are visiting. I've said this 100 times, and I will say it again. We need your prayers. We need your prayers. Thank you. And now, Senator Ted Cruz.
Texas is grieving right now. The pain, the shock of what has transpired these last few days has broken the heart of our state. As of yesterday, the confirmed death toll was 82, and those numbers are continuing to go up. The children, the little girls who were lost at Camp Mystic, that's every parent's nightmare. Every mom and dad. Last week, we were picking up our daughter from camp here in Hunt. Our girls have gone to camp here for a decade. The Hill Country is an incredible part of Texas, part of the country. The natural beauty here is incredible. The camps that have raised generations of little girls and little boys and instilled character and love and faith are extraordinary institutions. And I'll tell you, the pain in our state, and it's every part of the state. You've got Texans from all over the state who were here celebrating the 4th of July. A week ago, this was a time of great celebration. You're dropping your little girl off at camp, your little boy off at camp. You're celebrating Independence Day. You know that your child is going to be swimming and canoes and horseback riding and doing archery and making lifetime friends. And then suddenly it turns to tragedy. For the last several days, I've spoken to multiple parents, scared out of their mind. Do you know anything? Where is my daughter? There's still 10 girls and 1 counselor from Camp Mystic that are unaccounted for. And the pain and agony of not knowing your child's whereabouts, it's the worst thing imaginable. But I want to say, in the face of all of this, it is simultaneously inspiring. Every time there's a tragedy, every time there's a natural disaster in Texas, Texans come together. Texas is a big state. We got 31 million people, and we have hurricanes, we have tornadoes, we have wildfires. Tragedies hit this state, natural disasters hit this state, and without fail, 100 out of 100 times when that happens, we see Texans coming together, helping each other, engaging in acts of heroism. There have been over 850 high water rescues since this flooding began. 850. You look at extraordinary stories of Eagle Scouts pulling campers out of harm's way. I was just hearing a story of one counselor whose head was right at the water holding up 2 mattresses with campers on those mattresses. That kind of courage, that kind of selflessness. And then
sounds like Ted's going to be running for president.
The local first responders, I want to thank every one of the first responders at the local level, at the city level, at the county level, at the state level, at the federal level. In the first few hours of this flood, I was on the phone with Governor Abbott. I was on the phone with Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick. I was on the phone with Nim Kidd, the head of the Texas Department of Emergency Management. And then I called President Trump. I called President Trump. He was having dinner at the time. It was still early in what was transpiring. And I wanted him to know, I said, Mr. President, everything we're hearing right now, this appears to be bad, really bad. There may be a very significant loss of life unfolding right now in Texas. And I will tell you, the president said, Ted, anything Texas needs, the answer is yes. Whatever assets you need, whatever resources you need, Yes, let us know, and we will provide everything. Within hours, we had helicopters, over a dozen helicopters in the air. National Guard, DPS, game wardens, Coast Guard, doing search and rescue, reaching down. We've all seen the videos of little girls being pulled up, hoisted out of harm's way. Incredible courage and heroism. Search and rescue is the first stage, but the process of coming together and rebuilding is going to take longer. And I will say to all the grieving families, to all of those who've gotten the worst news imaginable, that your little girl, she's gone. I will say for many of us, those are friends and neighbors who've lost children. Got multiple kids who go to school with my girls. The mayor asked for prayers. And I want to say thank you to the millions of Texans, to the millions of Americans, to the millions of people all over the world right now who are praying for Texas and praying for those parents. Going through this grief, it is going to take love. It is going to take friends and family embracing and hugging and holding them while they weep. And it's going to take the church. With every disaster, one of the things we see here in Texas is the church steps up and the church helps and the church feeds and clothes and comforts. This morning, I met with a group of chaplains who've been going through the incredibly difficult process of talking to mom and dad after mom and dad who just lost the most precious person they ever knew. And those chaplains are just trying to love them and show God's love. So I want to say we will come through this. To those in the midst of grief right now, that might seem hard to fathom. But Texas will come through this. And I just want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to these gentlemen here who are working. They are not sleeping. They are working every day. Thank you to the families. Thank you to the Salvation Army. Thank you to everyone who is just reaching out and saying, how can I help? We will come through this.
Wet phones ain't much good, Tolga. But I think the signals are fine because I've talked to all of my people. The wet phones ain't no good.
We'll take questions.
Senator, you talked about having no kids here or taking your own kids to camp. Was it ever communicated to you that there was a need, that it was a priority to have a warning system so people had a chance to escape something?
Well, listen, I think anytime you're dealing with major rivers, there's a risk of flooding, and there's always been a risk of flooding, particularly on the Guadalupe River. I will say in the wake of every tragedy, there are things that are predictable. One of the things that's predictable is that you see some people engaging in, I think, partisan games and trying to blame their political opponents for a natural disaster. And you see that with a hurricane, with a tornado, with a wildfire, with this flooding where people immediately say, well, the hurricane is Donald Trump's fault. You know, look, that I think most normal Americans know that's ridiculous. And I think this is not a time for partisan finger pointing and attacks. Now, after we come through search and rescue, after we come through the process of rebuilding, there will naturally be a period of retrospection where you look back and say, okay, what exactly transpired? What was the timeline? And what could have been done differently to prevent this loss of life? And that's a natural process. I think it should not happen in a bitter and partisan sense, but it should happen in a reasonable sense of saying, what lessons can we learn? And I will give an example. You know, Houston's my hometown. If you live on the Gulf Coast, we get hurricanes. That's part of living on the Gulf Coast as hurricanes hit. And I do think Texas as a whole has learned over time how to deal more effectively with hurricanes. And so you look here, we know the National Weather Service put out an emergency warning just after 1 a.m. and a second emergency warning just after 4 a.m. Now, obviously, most people at 1 a.m. and 4 a.m. are asleep. And so I think we will have a reasonable conversation about, A, are there any ways to have earlier detection? And some of that, the limits of a flash flood They're very difficult because they can arise so quickly. But everyone would agree in hindsight, if we could go back and do it again, we would evacuate particularly those in the most vulnerable areas, the young children in the cabins closest to the water. We would remove them and get them to higher ground if we could go back and do it again. Obviously, everyone would. The people in RVs by the river's edge. We know in disasters like this, RVs and mobile homes are particularly susceptible, whether a flood or a hurricane or a tornado, they're particularly susceptible to that. And so my hope is in time, we will learn some lessons to implement to next time, and there will be another flood, there will be another disaster. But next time there's a flood, I hope we have in place processes to remove especially the most vulnerable from harm's way. But I think that's going to be a process that will take a careful examination of what happened and how can we implement processes better in the future to prevent this same loss of life.
Senator, there were claims that the National Weather Service sent that first flash flood warning that should have alerted phones at 1:14 in the morning. But we have a federal public database maintained by PBS Warn, that says the first emergency alert wirelessly